We'll see. Only 2 more races to go, but this race is going to be really exciting. The track is right over there in the dunes, embedded into the dunes. Really, really beautiful, and the drivers love it here, especially Matthias Ekström. Eki, you won here 3 times already, and I believe the first victory ever in your career was actually here in Zandvoort.
Yeah, that's true. It was back in the old days, 2002 with Audi TT, and I mean, the victory was nice, but also that race was the first Audi title in the modern DTM with Laurent Aiello.
All right, and now yesterday in the qualifying you were a bit unlucky. Actually, in the beginning we all thought you were P4, which sounded good, but then you were under investigation because you were blocking Gary Paffett, and that means what position? I think P8?
It was a communication problem from our side. I mean, my race engineer Florian, he said Molina is the only guy behind you, and I thought we were all on the way from the pits, but that Gary Paffett were on a flying lap I was not aware of, and I was looking in the mirrors once in a while but not regularly, and then suddenly he came from the back and I was in the middle of the road.
Yikes, but hopefully from P8 you can do some magic, who knows? I mean, it's still about, even though the title is already given to Marco Wittmann, obviously it's still about runner-up and second runner-up.
Yeah, sure. I mean, second and third is still good possible, and I mean, you know how it is. Every driver wants to do the best possible, and I'm no different. So we have a good chance here. We have another chance in Hockenheim, and then it will be the winter break.
All right. Well, best of luck for the race today. Thank you so much.
Bitte schön.
And now we're going on the track with Eki because he's showing us the lap. Enjoy.
So here we are on the start and finish straight, coming up to turn 1. Very hard and late braking into the second gear corner that is banked, and it's very important to keep the car tight in the middle. Up the gears to fourth and a quick short right-hander in third. Very special hairpin left, very long, and very important to get a good exit because now it's going to be flat out for a long time. First a pressed right, then a flat left, and now the most spectacular place of the year. A crest and then the fastest corner of the season. Fourth or fifth gear depending on how good you get it in qualifying on the race. Sector 1 line there. Entering another quick right-hander, going up to the first place where overtaking is pretty good. Middle sector again, we come to the my favorite left-hander where you can do good overtakings. Again, important exits in all those corners because the straights are pretty long. Sector line for sector 2 ends here. Again, hard braking for the chicane, right? And then again, a very slippy left-hander, very often with a lot of sand. Coming up to the last corner, it will be third gear. Important is to get a good exit, so we carry the speed through the last corner because the corner is flat. So if this is now the ideal lap, we will soon see.
I'm now here with Marco Wittmann. Marco, you're the DTM champ 2014. Sounds really good. How were the last 14 days for you? And especially, have you realized it already?
Not really. On one side, yes, but still, it's kind of unbelievable. I mean, I think I will realize it really after Hockenheim if the season is done. But actually, it's nice. I still wake up with a smile on my face. And yes, the last 14 days were quite busy. I had a lot of PR and media stuff to do, but it was nice and yeah, still a good feeling.
Now, most people really do say it's a well-deserved title for you. You fought so hard this season. You won 4 races. I think only one time you didn't actually score points. And then 2 races before the end, you already secured the title. Only one person did that before, and that's Bernd Schneider. What would you say is the secret to your success?
I think first of all to be consistent, especially in this championship with just 10 races. It's important to have as less 0 points as possible, and on the other side, I think was quite important to start always in the front. We made it always in Q3, so had always quite a good starting position, and therefore, if you have a good starting position on the grid, you can achieve a good result in the race, and I think this is pretty important.
And now, all in all, obviously there are 3 titles. One of them you already got, you're the champion. But for BMW, it would be nice to get the other 2 titles too, to get a kind of hat trick. So does that mean, is that the motto for the rest of the season, to really keep fighting?
Definitely, for sure the motivation is as high as before. We want to try to push as much as we can to get these 2 titles, one to Munich and one to Niederzissen, and that's our goal, to get maximum points out of it and try to achieve these goals.
All right, well, best of luck for the race today. Thank you, Marco.
Thank you.
So there we have it. Despite being the champion, still as motivated as ever. As we see the 2013 champion on pole position, Mike Rockenfeller, with the 2014 champ, Marco Wittmann, alongside him. Jamie Green and Nico Müller on the next row of the grid. Then we see Pascal Wehrlein and Martin Tomczyk. Drivers being moved up the grid because of 2 penalties following qualifying. Joey Hand, P7, and Matthias Ekström going from P8. He was P4. Then we see Miguel Molina, P9. Gary Paffett, the Mercedes driver, P10. It was he that was impeded by Matthias Ekström, which gave Eki that penalty. Adrian Tombe and Paul Di Resta, P11 and P12. Timo Glock goes from P13. Bruno Spengler from P14. The next row of the grid, we see Timo Scheider and Maxime Martin. Then it's Christian Vettoris and Antonio Felix da Costa, P17, P18 on the grid. Before it's Augusto Farfus and Robert Wickens, both of whom disappointed with their qualifying performance yesterday. So too Daniel Juncadella, and Vitaly Petrov, making his debut at this circuit, is P22. And right at the back of the grid, following an infringement during qualifying, is Edo Mortara. With Rocky right now, though, is Verena.
Absolutely, yeah. Rocky is already in the car, and I believe it's Rocky's favorite track. You won here once, and twice you were second. Today you're in the best position to aim for another victory.
Well, of course, that's what we are hoping for. We have the best position, like you said. So, yeah, it's up to us. I mean, we need to have a good start, good first stint, to make a small gap, and then have a good pit stop, and hopefully control the race till the end.
And of course, it would be wonderful for Audi, because it would be the first victory this season. So I guess there's a bit pressure. Last question, you had an upset stomach yesterday. Are you totally fit again today?
Well, I mean, I have been feeling better than today, for sure, in the past. But the last week was really tough for me, and it's getting better slowly. So I just try, to focus in the race, and after I can recover more. So right now is not the time to think about that.
Thank you so much. Best of luck. Good luck for a victory. And if he gets pole position with an upset stomach, then today for a victory, nothing should be in the way. Back to you.
I think you're absolutely right, Verena, to have achieved what he did through feeling poorly the whole week. He presented a fantastic qualifying session yesterday. Miguel Molina, we can see there, who is going from P9 on the grid. And as I mentioned, a couple of penalties that came in overnight, grid penalties for Eki and also from Mortara. And to put some meat on the bones for those grid penalties, Matthias Ekström, well, he was penalised, as you heard from Verena, for impeding Gary Paffett during qualifying. And Eduardo Mortara, well, he goes back because there was an infringement on the front diffuser of the car. It was mounted too low, so that puts him right to the very, very back of the grid for Eduardo Mortara. Here is the grid in full for you then, once again, and you can see the yellow indicators indicate that they're running on option tyres, and the black indicators on the wheels are the standard tyres. So Rocky, Wittmann, Green, Müller, Wehrlein, Tomczyk, Hand, all going for the options, as you can see. And the second page of the starting grid there shows Glock on options, then Spengler, Scheider on options, then Martin, Vettoris, Antonio Felix da Costa going with options as well from P18, and right at the back, Eduardo Mortara going for a gamble on the option tyres as well. Now, tyre degradation here, very, very difficult indeed, talking to Hankook, and the reason for that is there is old and new tarmac here at the Zandvoort circuit, this 4.3 kilometre circuit. And that puts a lot of pressure on those tyres, particularly in some areas where the sand, and Matthias Ekström mentioned this when his on-board lap, that sand comes off the dunes and onto the circuit. That makes the car slide, puts additional pressure onto the tyres, and so tyre degradation perhaps going to be an issue here, and going to be interesting to see just how long those option tyres last. And it is certainly the front 3 rows of the grid going on options. In fact, the first person to go on standard tyres is going to be the grid-dropped Matthias Ekström. There we see the Guix livery and the Mercedes of Pascal Wehrlein, the best Mercedes of the lot. And with Wolfgang Schattling now is Verena.
Certainly I am. Wolfgang Schattling, now best Mercedes is Pascal Wehrlein, the winner of the Lausitzring. As we talked about the weather before, is it going to be sunny skies for Mercedes today? Do you have good hopes for doing well in the race today?
Hopefully yet, but hope is not being in the know. But I guess if Pascal can stay out of trouble, he will be up front together with the leaders, and then we'll see what comes out.
Pascal is really amazing what he did at Lausitzring. Where does he take it all from? I mean, the car is obviously really fast, but he also knows how to use the car.
He's a real talent, and we knew it from the beginning. And this year we have given him a car which he could develop on himself. And so you really feel that he gets more and more acquainted to his car, and with his talent he is managing things which we didn't expect before.
So let's see, from P5 anything is possible. Thank you very much, Wolfgang Schattling. Have a great race, and back to you.
Thanks, Verena. And Wolfgang was telling me that Pascal really has developed, and of course comes here brimming full of confidence following that success in Lausitzring, and also the announcement that he becomes a official Mercedes reserve driver for their F1 squad. So Pascal Wehrlein, see what he can do today. The weather gods not playing into the hands of Mercedes like they did at Lausitzring, but certainly playing into the hands of Mike Rockenfeller, who, despite him feeling poorly, he starts from pole position. Drivers' Championship then, well, it's done and dusted for Marco Wittmann. He becomes the champion for 2014, but the battle is on for P2, 3, and indeed for 4. Christian Vettoris, Matthias Ekström, Edo Mortara, and Mike Rockenfeller. The next places down in the points, and you can see just how close it is. So Christian Vettoris with just 3 points ahead of Matthias Ekström, and Vettoris starting way down the order from P17. So going to be a hard ask for Christian Vettoris, I would suggest, as the teams make their way off the grid right now. We're getting ready for the race. The DTM race here in the dunes at Zandvoort is on its way. Big crowd as always here at this seaside circuit to enjoy the DTM race today. Only one race after this, Hockenheim, for the season finale to come. And there, a great shot from our cherry picker camera of the 2013 champion Mike Rockenfeller, pole position, and alongside him is Marco Wittmann, the 2014 champion. Did enough at the Lausitzring to ensure that the title became his. Jamie Green going to be a danger man from P3 on the grid as well, I would suggest, as to Nico Muller, who's shown good qualifying pace and good free practice pace, as well as we see Wolfgang Schattling to the left there, Ralf Schumacher right in the middle, and to the right-hand side is one of the PR guys from Mercedes-Benz. And there, Jamie Green in the all-orange car that I mentioned just a few moments ago. Could be a danger man from there, for sure. But Pascal Wehrlein, of course, will be hoping to do good things from P5 in the Mercedes. Best place Mercedes of all. Right, they're off on their formation lap here at the Zandvoort circuit. 4.3 kilometers. And a problem for Timo Glock, who has not managed to get away from the grid. So Timo Glock, you can see they're resetting, and does manage to get away. Now, by virtue of the fact that he has managed to get away, he should be able to take his place on the grid. In a different story, if he'd not managed to get away, he'd have ended up perhaps in the pit lane. So initial getaway problems for Timo Glock. Keep an eye on that. Also going to keep a very close eye on the tyre situation here. You can see Augusto Farfus and also there on board with Daniel Juncadella as they manage to avoid the stricken Timo Glock car. And you can see Timo there waving his hands in despair as he tries to get the car enabled. Eventually having done so, when last we saw the live pictures, he was moving and was away. So the car's snaking away around the circuit here. So Rocky, Wittmann, Green, Muller, Wehrlein, Tomczyk and Hand all running on the option tyres. Matti Ekström is the first to go on the standard tyres. See that from the yellow indicator, that's the option tyre. The black indicator is the regular tyre. Fantastic heli shot. And yet another one of the many thousands of fans that are here to enjoy DTM. There is the circuit in full. 44 laps predicted. 4.3 kilometers. Lap record 2010. Timo Scheider, who goes from P15 today. Christian Vitoris, P2 in the points. Some 3 ahead of Matthias Ekström in third place. Air temperature, as you can see, just under 23 degrees. Track temperature just under 28. Now Timo obviously with a problem. The car is slowing. Timo obviously with issues on this, the formation lap. No, going to the back of the grid. Well, I thought, by virtue of the fact that he had managed to get away, that he'd be able to take up his position in the grid. Tension there from Jens Marquardt. Of course, the rule being only if his car was going before the last car had passed him, which it wasn't, so that's why Timo is at the back of the grid now. Thanks, Sebastian, clearing that up. So he didn't manage to get away before the last car on the grid had passed, and that's why Timo now lines up effectively behind Vitaly Petrov and behind Edo Mortara as well. The tension builds. We saw it in the garages just moments ago as the lights come on. When the lights are out, we are away and racing, and it will be a huge steam to the front. Jamie Green crosses over to cut into the inside line. Rocky and Wittmann are side by side. Is Wittmann going to have enough to go through into the lead? Indeed he does. Nico Muller trying to go around the outside. Jamie Green and Nico Muller right side by side, but a brilliant start from Marco Wittmann, which sees him go straight into the lead. Tomczyk and Jamie Green together now. We're on board with Pascal Wehrlein. As through that hairpin they go, but it's Marco Wittmann that got his nose in front right at the very start. And we ride on board with Pascal Wehrlein, who is tucked in behind Jamie Green. So a supreme start from Marco Wittmann, a less good start from Mike Rockenfeller. Oh! And a big, big moment there. See on board from Timo Glock here as Danny Juncadella and Vitaly Petrov are getting together. So Timo then, who following his problems on the formation lap, starts the race right from the back of the grid, passes Daniel Juncadella and also Vitaly Petrov. It was Mortara that we saw having a big, big moment, managed to gather it all together though, thankfully. Wittmann leads. Some 8/10 over Mike Rockenfeller here. We are on board with Timo Glock now, the BMW driver. Just look at the margin that Marco Wittmann has built up already in that BMW over Mike Rockenfeller. Absolutely extraordinary pace from Marco Wittmann. 1.4 seconds over P2 already. Marco Wittmann, the champion. Timo Scheider then getting past Matthias Ekström. Matthias Ekström, of course, running on the standard tyres. Scheider on the option rubber. You can see on the left-hand side of your screen all the names that are indicated in yellow are running the option tyres. Those that have a black background are running on the standard tyres. Well, Petrov obviously having got past Glock once again. Glock did manage to get past Petrov, but there's Daniel Juncadella who's running right at the back now. in the Mercedes, and you can hear that engine absolutely being caned by Danny Juncadella. Wittmann leading from Mike Rockenfeller. Muller is P3. Then it's Tomczyk, Green, Wehrlein, Hand, Paffett, Tombe, De Resta, and Timo Scheider. So Antonio Felix da Costa, we saw in shot there. Oh, and Paul De Resta then just dipping into the gravel. You can see it from on board. That'll rattle the windscreen of both Matthias Ekström and Timo Scheider, and some debris there coming off the car as well. And there it is, one of the brave marshals here getting some of the bodywork away. Came off that De Resta car. De Resta running in P10 at the moment. On that 2 of 44 here. Two Red Bull cars together there. Matthias Ekström for Audi. Antonio Felix da Costa behind Eki in the BMW. Here they come through on shot now. It's battle for P12. Eki is P12, Antonio Felix da Costa P13. Wittmann with 1.5 seconds. To the good, leads the race. This is Vitaly Petrov. Running down there last now, having been taken by both Timo Glock and Danny Juncadella, and some flapping bodywork at the back of that car. So there is Marco Wittmann through the chicane here. Seemingly with everything very much under control at the front. Did all the hard work, of course, at the start. Managed to get the get-go on Mike Rockenfeller and went into turn 1 in the lead. On board with Matthias Ekström right now. Fantastic on-board shot as Matthias, who, of course, is running on the standard tyre. As DRS gets enabled now. So Antonio Felix da Costa having got past Matthias Ekström. Eki, the first of those in the grid order to start on the standard tyre. Going to be very, very interesting to see when these option tyres begin to go off. Expecting rate of wear to be high here at the Zandvoort circuit. Joey Hand in P7 with Gary Paffett right behind him. Paffett was the one that was impeded by Ekström. So Timo Scheider goes through, or tries to go through on Paul De Resta, and does so. So Eki, of course, getting that grid penalty for impeding Gary Paffett. We're on board with Timo Scheider now. And this is Matthias Ekström, who, and that's Antonio Felix da Costa on the option tyre, managing to get past Matthias Ekström. Now, the margin between P1 and P2 has come down by a couple of tenths. Rocky is now just managing to get to grips with the Audi and beginning, or whether there was a slight error from Marco Wittmann that was unseen to us. Wittmann leads from Rocky, from Muller, from Tomczyk, then it's Green P5, Wehrlein Hand P6 and P7, then Paffett, Tombe and Timo Scheider. We're on board with right now, running out the top 10 here at Zandvoort in this, the second from last race in the DTM Championship for 2014, the championship that it was won at Lasseterring by Marco Wittmann, the man that is leading this race. And Rocky has taken another whole heap of time out of Marco Wittmann. So the margin now is just under 9 tenths between Marco Wittmann and Mike Rockenfeller. We could have a race on our hands here at the front. Timo Glock battling his way back there in P21. He's got Robert Wickens ahead of him, and Augusto Farfus is ahead of Robert Wickens. We ride on board with Timo Glock right now. So Timo with that problem right at the very start of the race. And every car on the grid getting past him, which meant that Timo Glock not able to take up his original starting position, had to go right to the back of the grid as Tombe is off. Adrien Tombe has clattered into the barriers. Now, doubtless we will get a replay of exactly how that happened, but that has provoked the safety car that's coming out, which will bunch everyone up, and Rocky was already taking time out of Marco Wittmann at the front. But Adrien Tombe is in the barriers here. So there, can see in full view on screen that the safety car is being deployed. This will bunch the cars up. Very early stages of the race. Was discussing with Andrew Van Leeuwen from Autosport magazine earlier this morning the likelihood of a safety car here. Well, Adrien then just getting out on the grass. And here we can see it from a different camera angle, carrying too much speed. And just went clattering and sliding across the grass. And ends up T-boning the barrier. The impact was before then. But that's enough to provoke a safety car. And good to see Adrien Tombe out of the car all okay. So disappointment then for Adrien Tombe out of the race. And the safety car out now. And in straight away, Danny Juncadella. And we're on board with Danny Juncadella, who's chosen to dive in under the safety car period. And the snatch truck to the Adrien Tombe car away to safety. Now, Juncadella started on the standard tyre and has chosen to pit during the safety car. Best of my knowledge, looking at the screen, absolutely no one else choosing to go in at this early stage. On Mike Rockenfeller, an unscheduled stop for Danny Juncadella then to come in and change tyres. And that stop will be in addition to the mandatory one that he has to make as well. And this was the drag to turn one, and Rocky just didn't get quite enough of a getaway to block Marco Wittmann. Going through to take the lead, and Jens Marquardt and Wolfgang Ullrich from BMW and Audi respectively watch on as the 2013 and 2014 champion battled right at the front of the pack. Right through the middle there. Edo Mortara. This from Timo Scheider. So Adrien Tombe ahead right in the middle there. So Timo Scheider getting up the inside of Miguel Molina. Molina sticking with it because Molina managing to carry enough speed to keep him alongside. This on board from Matthias Ekström. Well, another one choosing to come in is Vitaly Petrov. Petrov also started on the standard tyre. So these stops are not the scheduled pit stops. That comes from lap 15. Safety car coming in this lap. So the stops we've seen from Petrov and also from Juncadella, unscheduled ones. And their mandatory stops will have to be made in addition, but they're running right at the back of the pack anyway, so damage limitation, I guess. Well, Wittmann had, in the early stages, first 2 laps or so, built up a huge lead over Mike Rockenfeller, but then, as we headed towards what has become this safety car period, Rocky was taking time right out of Marco Wittmann as he tries to back them all up now, and he'll hope to get a flyer here. And Rocky, you can just sense, as indeed is Nico Müller, waiting to pounce if they possibly can. There you can see they're all in anticipation, trying to anticipate when Marco Wittmann is going to floor it. And they're staying right with them, and still Marco's backing them up, and now he gets away. And he did a good job there because both Rocky and Müller, well, they couldn't quite get the march on him there, and he's, well, he pushed that to restart perfectly, really. So now it'll be interesting to see what both Rocky and Müller can do. Gary Paffett around the outside of Joey Hand here. Wasn't able quite to stick with that line. Battle for P7 is 7 is Joey Hand, 8 is Gary Paffett. As you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, the order as it is. We're on board with Timo Scheider down there in P9, following that Paffett-Joey Hand battle. So it was just under 6/10 over Sector 1 that Wittmann had the margin over Mike Rockenfeller. Has increased that a little bit through Sector 2. On board with Timo Scheider once again. And there you can see Joey Hand, Gary Paffett and Timo Scheider, man in the centre of our shot there, who is P9. Paul de Resta is P10. So they cross the line then, and look at this, Timo Scheider right on the back of Gary Paffett. Paul de Resta trying to buy into this as well. Paffett gets past Joey Hand. Timo Scheider trying to go around the outside. Is there contact between Paul de Resta and Joey Hand? Paul de Resta manages to muscle his way through. Joey Hand going backwards. So it's now Paffett, Scheider, then it's de Resta and Hand. So Joey Hand, the big loser in that. There's Antonio Felix da Costa right behind him now. And Gary Paffett really on a charge here. P7 for Paffett now. He has his Mercedes stablemate Pascal Wehrlein ahead of him. Just see Wehrlein going through on shot. And there is Paul de Resta. Oh, Joey Hand gets out on the grass. That allows Antonio Felix da Costa to go through. And maybe Molina as well. My mistake, actually, Mortara there. Manages to get through following that mistake from Joey Hand. So Wittmann leads with a 1 second margin. Now this is where Joey Hand just slips out onto the grass there. It's enough for Felix da Costa. We can see it from being on board there, kicking up a lot of the sand. And Paffett also running out onto the gravel as well. But still able to keep that play on Joey Hand. This is Timo Scheider in replay alongside Gary Paffett. Paffett in the Euronics liveried Mercedes-Benz. Oh, and Paul de Resta has overcooked it somewhere and has been out onto the grass in the dunes. So this is Antonio Felix da Costa, and there was contact there. Doubtless that will be investigated by the stewards because that's turned de Resta around. And this is how it started. And that is how it finished up for Paul de Resta. So having gone so well, Paul de Resta was up to points playing place. Turned around by Antonio Felix da Costa. So there, no surprise, the incident between Paul de Resta and Antonio Felix da Costa is under investigation. We go back to Timo Scheider, running in P8 with Gary Paffett ahead in P7. Then we see the man under investigation now, Antonio Felix da Costa. It's Bruno Spengler and Christian Vitoris and Timo Glock all together there. So the order then at the bottom of your screen, it is Wittmann with 8/10 over Mike Rockenfeller. Then it's Muller, Tomczyk, Green, Wehrlein and Paffett and Scheider. On board with Timo Glock. Running down there, P16, inside of Christian Vittoris. Is he able to keep that line? Christian Vittoris able to shut the door. Glock running on the option tyres, Vittoris on the standard tyres, so Glock has got the tyre advantage. Still got to find and navigate a way around the Mercedes-Benz ahead of him, driven by Christian Vittoris. See on the left-hand side of your screen, 7/10 is the margin between Wittmann and P1 and Mike Rockenfeller P2. Rocky opened up a real gap over Nico Müller in P3. As Glock once again lines up Christian Vittoris here, and this time will get right alongside him, but is misplaced for the next corner. That is the problem. And that's when Christian Vittoris is just able to shut the door. Timo Glock working really, really hard here to try and get past Christian Vittoris. And again, dives to the inside, and this time he gets the job done. And through the chicane, Timo Glock moves up another place. You can see him at work in the Deutsche Post BMW. And this in replay, how Timo Glock lined that up. The yellow banding on the tyres indicating that he's running on options. And of course, Christian Vittoris running on the standard tyre. 11 of 44 laps completed here at Zandvoort for this DTM round in the sand dunes. And once again now, just looking at the times on the left-hand side of your screen between P1 and P2, Mike Rockenfeller has taken another couple of tenths out of Marco Wittmann. So there is Mike Rockenfeller, who's beginning to reel Marco Wittmann in. Now, we've seen Wittmann under pressure before in situations like that, and he's been able to keep his cool. Race is on, obviously. Mike will be so disappointed with his start that he wasn't able just to shunt his car across the front of Marco Wittmann and go into turn one in the lead, but he really is reeling in. Wittmann now. Through the chicane they go. Nico Müller P3, just see him in shot as well. But the race is on between the 2013 and the 2014 champion for victory here in Zandvoort, potentially. Between these two, the race that we've had an early safety car. On to the start-finish straight they go off the back of Arie Luyendyk turn into turn one, the Tarzan turn here at the Zandvoort circuit. And now it's just under 5/10, the gap between Rocky and Wittmann. Rocky, of course, will have the benefit of DRS. Wittmann won't. And that playing into the hands of Mike Rockenfeller. They go through that hairpin, then the uphill stretch through turns 4, 5 before they get to turn 6. We're on board with Timo Glock now, who has Bruno Spengler for company. Glock running in P14. Spengler losing out there. And that's how Spengler lost out. It's Timo Glock. Hand of appreciation goes out there. But this is the battle that we're interested in. The battle right at the front between Mike Rockenfeller and Marco Wittmann. And Rocky is right on the back of Wittmann now. The margin is under 3/10 between the two. So Rocky following in the wheel tracks of Marco Wittmann. And at this stage, you would say it's when, not if. Rocky makes his move on the Ice Watch BMW driver ahead of him. The 2014 champion, the 2013 champion together here around the Arie Luyendyk turn. And here comes Rocky. So the DRS deployed by Mike Rockenfeller. Marco Wittmann locks up into turn one. Is he still able to cover it off? Through the turn 2 and 3 section into the hairpin before they run uphill now. Marco doing a good job of defending that. It caused him to lock up into turn one. But even that was not enough to send him offline and allow Mike Rockenfeller just to get his nose up the inside. So Wittmann with another lap of heavy, hard-duty defending against Mike Rockenfeller here. Over the last timing line from the sector, it was 3/10 that Wittmann had over Rocky, but Rocky is sticking right with him here. So let's see how he can do here. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it that the Audis are coping with these option tyres perhaps better than the BMW. So Rocky right behind Wittmann, and Muller not far behind either. Tomczyk in P4 under pressure from Jamie Green in P5. So again now Mike Rockenfeller will deploy the DRS. This will get him right onto the back of Marco Wittmann. He tries to dive up the inside. Wittmann closes that door, shuts the door. Rocky goes to the outside. He'll try the undercut here, but Wittmann doesn't leave enough room for him to be able to do so, and perhaps Rocky didn't quite have the legs to do it. But Nico Muller is now beginning to join into this battle as well. So the BMW holding up the two Audis here that definitely look superior, but they're only superior if they can get past. And at the moment, Marco's doing a fantastic job in terms of defending his position. We're on lap 14 of 44 here at Zandvoort. And the order is Marco Wittmann, that you can see now in the middle of your screen. He leads from Mike Rockenfeller, and then Nico Muller. Then we see another BMW P4 is Tomczyk, and Jamie Green behind him in P5, and then it's Pascal Wehrlein, best Mercedes P6 with Paffett, his Mercedes teammate alongside him. So we are but a lap away from the pit window opening. So Wittmann and Rocky once again as we go on to the Audi pit perch. Rocky just biding his time. He's had a couple of nibbles at Marco Wittmann, neither of which have worked. And this time, once again, both Rocky and Muller will deploy DRS. That's not available to Marco Wittmann. But Rocky not close enough to be able to make a move on Marco Wittmann. 4/10 the margin when they cross the timing line as Jamie Green and Tomczyk together there. And, well, Green proving the Audi superiority as he gets past Tomczyk. So we lead with BMW. Then it is 3 Audis. This is the replay. And Jamie Green through on Tomczyk. Ran a bit wide, but was able to cover that off, and Tomczyk not able to come back. So the Audi's performance on the option tyres superior. Jamie Green now up to P4 and was being held up by Tomczyk, so he will be on a charge now as well. Here is the best placed Mercedes driver, Pascal Wehrlein. You can see Gary Paffett right behind him. This fantastic shot that we're able to bring you rearward facing from the Pascal Wehrlein car. It's Wehrlein, Paffett, and then Timo Scheider now. Scheider, Paffett, Wehrlein, well, in fact, the top 10 all on the option tyres. Audi's definitely got the march on the BMWs in terms of performance with the option tyres at the moment. Although now Wittmann has increased his margin over Mike Rockenfeller, and even with the DRS assist, Rocky not on the back of Wittmann at the moment. Jamie Green making great strides now. He's been released from the clutches of Martin Tomczyk, and Rocky has gone through. So Mike Rockenfeller now takes up the lead. Just saw the back end of that overtake, and going into turn 1, it didn't look like Rocky was close enough, but obviously he was. Whether there was a mistake there from Marco Wittmann, let's see it. Yeah, another lock-up from Wittmann, and that was enough because Wittmann runs wide, and that allows Rocky to go through. And a delight in the garage. And now just look at the margin that Rocky has built up over Marco Wittmann already. He's holding Nico Muller up now, and Muller's going to have to find a way past On lap 16 of 44, then Mike Rockenfeller becomes the leader of the race. You'd have expected him to take his pole position on the grid and convert that into the lead of the race at turn 1, but it wasn't to be. Marco Wittmann got the march on him at the start, but now you can see just the superior paces. Oh, that's a great shame, seeing the retirement of Paul di Resta. Interestingly, race control suggesting that no further action going to be taken between the incident between Paul di Resta and Antonio Felix da Costa that we saw earlier, as in comes Marco Wittmann from P2. So BMW's clearly suffering now with those tyres. Also coming in is Martin Tomczyk. So in comes Marco Wittmann, needing a good stop from the team here, which is delivered. 2.6 seconds. Martin Tomczyk clock on him as well. Well, 1/10 slower. Here's Gary Paffett, who's been in also. And they are all back out on track ahead of Joey Hand. So Wittmann now with traffic and going to be mired in that because he's got Christian Vittoris ahead, and ahead of Christian Vittoris is Bruno Spengler. Too much of a problem with Bruno Spengler, more of a problem with Christian Vittoris. Rocky leading by 2.5 seconds over Nico Müller. And the 1, 2, 3 then on track, all Audis with Mercedes Pascal Wehrlein P4. Mandatory pit stop window is open as Wittmann dives up the inside of Christian Vittoris and goes through. Up next in the target sights of Marco Wittmann will be Bruno Spengler. And out is Augusto Farfus. Damage to the front of that car, and this will provoke another safety car surely, because A, where the car is, B, with the debris on the track. So Augusto Farfus as we watch Pascal Wehrlein. Oh, and that's a really slow stop for Pascal Wehrlein. So safety car out, as I predicted, for the stricken Augusto Farfus car. Thankfully, Augusto getting out of the car and is all okay. But for the second time of asking here at Zandvoort, the safety car is out, and Augusto absolutely fuming. You can see that with the anger with which he shut the door. Now, we haven't seen yet in replay how that occurred. There's the safety car waiting to pick up the race leader. Oh, my goodness me. Augusto Farfus there right across. That was at the entrance to the chicane. Absolutely flying across the curb. And, well, that's why. That's why he got a nerf by Daniel Juncadella. And that's why we're seeing so much anger from Augusto Farfus. So, here we can see it from on board with Farfus. First of all, look. Impact on the barriers, and big impact at that. That spins and turns the car around, and it's pirouetting across the tarmac. You can see debris coming off the front of the car, and it comes to rest in the gravel. Well, BMW team RBM not impressed there, as you can see. And there was the door being slammed shut by Augusto Farfus. Absolutely fuming. Well, no surprise that under investigation the incident between car number 3 and car number 19. As the car is lifted to safety, the debris is swept away from the track, and Augusto Farfus becomes a retirement like Paul di Resta from this race. Also out, Adrien Tombe. There is our race leader, Mike Rockenfeller. There's P2, Nico Muller, and P3, Jamie Green, with Timo Scheider, P4. Now this may have damaged the race for Rocky. Now, bearing in mind that Wittmann has already made a stop. Where are we now? P9 for Marco Wittmann, Rocky, Muller, Green, all got to stop yet. We're under the safety car. There is the Farfus car being taken out. Now, depending on how quickly they manage to get that car away, and to be fair, they were well progressing with that, and also the debris away from the track. As to how soon the safety car comes back in. So Danny Juncadella then is the man that's under investigation. You see the damage to the front of that car, and it was that nerf on Augusto Farfus that sent him pirouetting across the track. Great to see him out of the car and seemingly all okay. And there you can see just how big the impact was as Augusto Farfus clattered into the barriers. Lights still on the safety car. No indication that it's coming in this lap. So, been reported to the stewards, the incident between Farfus and Juncadella. Well, before we get the restart underway, luckily Verena has managed to catch up with Paul di Resta.
Yeah, very furious Paul di Resta, as I can see, obviously. What exactly happened? An incident with Da Costa, I think?
Yeah, I mean, it was a small incident. I'm not really sure. I think it was a little bit late from his side, but we were struggling quite badly from lap one. Something I think was wrong with the car. That's why we've had to retire. I don't think it was a contact that done it, but at the same point, you know, driving standards are always on the edge, and you know, when you retire for something like that, it's a bit frustrating given where we were. I think we were in a strong position where we could have scored some points, and yeah, another weekend over, and hopefully Hockenheim we can get back on track.
Best of luck for Hockenheim. Thank you very much, and back to you.
Thanks, Verena, and well done for catching up with Paul di Resta. Surprised to hear that perhaps there was something right. Felt there was something not quite right with the car, because, well, there we are. He would know better than anyone, of course. So, safety car in this lap. Being told, it's Rockenfeller, Muller, Green, and Scheider. Four-car Audi lockout at the front at the moment, but we are not even at half distance of this DTM race here at Zandvoort. Race that has had two safety cars in the first half of the race. So Rocky floors it now, and Muller, Green, and Scheider behind. Through the Arie Luijendijk turn they come then, and the race resumes following that safety car period for the Augusto Farfus incident. Into turn one goes Mike Rockenfeller, Nico Muller, Jamie Green, and Timo Scheider. Now there's the man to watch, Marco Wittmann, who from P9 has already made his mandatory pit stop. He's on the standard tyres now. Yes, Timo Glock ahead of him on very, very old option tyres. As you can see, the pit stop window, because of the safety car being increased. So Rocky with 7/10 over Nico Muller, but the gap back to Marco Wittmann in P9 is just under 5 seconds, 4.9. In fact, it's come down now to 4.7. It changes as we look at the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen. So there is Rocky, there's Nico Muller, and Muller under pressure from Jamie Green. Jamie Green right on him. Marco, I would think, isn't going to have too much of a problem getting past Timo Glock. To move up a further place, that would give him P8. Then he'll have Molina and Eki ahead of him. And Muller runs wide, and that allows Jamie Green through. Does it allow Timo Scheider through as well? Possibly so. No. Manages to shut the door. Scheider not able to, but Scheider going for it now, and he's going to be best placed to be able to take advantage, and does. He goes through. So the order at the top end changes. P2, because that now becomes Jamie Green, and P3 Timo Scheider, Nico Muller losing out 2 places. There goes Marco Wittmann on Timo Glock. Really rather expected that. And now Marco Wittmann will be chasing after Molina. There's Molina going through. There is Marco Wittmann. Felix da Costa running in P5, we can see there. So Antonio Felix da Costa having got past Muller as well. And now Ekstrom lining him up as Marco Wittmann lines up Molina. So Eki goes through, and now Marco Wittmann lines up Miguel Molina. The Ice Watcher BMW, Molina got the right line going into this turn. Marco Wittmann will try now just to stick with it and keep the pressure on Miguel Molina. Molina runs just a little bit wide, is out on the curves. Marco dives to the inside, isn't going to be space there for him to be able to use. Cars coming in to take their mandatory pit stops. And Wittmann, turn 1, big lock up from Molina. Is that going to be enough for Wittmann to get his nose up the inside and get right alongside Molina? No, Molina shuts the door once again. Wittmann having to work really, really hard here to try and get past Miguel Molina. Molina's back end steps out there. Here comes Antonio Felix da Costa, Matthias Ekstrom, and Nico Muller. Also Christian Vittoris and Bruno Spengler. You can see the pit in, pit out times there. And Marco Wittmann still battling behind Miguel Molina. Molina trying to make the Audi as wide as possible to prevent the BMW of Marco Wittmann to get past. Wittmann being held up here big time and needs to get past. Now dives to the inside, and Wittmann executes that perfectly. So Wittmann now moves up a further place and is now P4. Molina tries to fight back. Wittmann has it all under control. Wittmann now running onto the standard tyres. On board with Timo Glock, and Molina ahead of him, the guy that Marco Wittmann has just managed to get past. And here we can see it in replay as Wittmann was able to dive to the inside and perfectly execute the manoeuvre. And, well, discontent from the Audi Sport Team Phoenix engineers. Now Martin Tomczyk gets past Timo Glock. And in Molina, Jamie Green has been in. 3.3 seconds stop for Jamie Green, 3 seconds for Molina. Green filters back out again. Here comes Molina. Augusto Farfus, we saw him looking extremely angry, and you're very brave to be talking to him. Verena Wright.
Yeah, I think he's calmed down a little bit. We saw you very furious. What exactly happened? Why were you so furious?
Yeah, I had an enormous hit from the back from Giancadella, and the race was over. I think he completely forgot to brake, and that's why I'm upset, because it was not a little touch, it was a massive impact.
And is he still under investigation, do you know?
I haven't seen on TV, but I mean, I'm sure he will be.
Thank you very much, Augusto. And he can smile again, which is always good. Sportsman, that is. Back to you.
Thanks, Verena. Well, the incident being reported to the stewards, so it's definitely under investigation. And Augusto Farfus then having calmed down a little bit, but as he said, his race was over. So sure it wasn't anything malicious from him. Cadella just missed his breaking point completely and fired into the back of Augusto Farfus, which sent him pirouetting across the track. Okay, race leader Mike Rockenfeller crosses the line now, and Timo Scheider into the pit, which means in P2 is Marco Wittmann. So Wittmann then some 8 seconds behind Mike Rockenfeller, the race leader. Scheider is in, a 3.2 second stop for Scheider. He will come out. Jamie Green will just get past, I think. Glock also in. Out goes Glock. So Green is P10 on track. Scheider P11. Robert Wickens is... Oh, that's Nico Müller into the tyre barriers. Look how close that is to the edge of the circuit. If that car can't be moved quickly, that's going to throw another safety car. So Nico Müller into the tyre barriers. I didn't quite see how that started yet. There is the safety car coming out again. Third time in this race here at Zandvoort. Oh, well, that's why. A little touch from Christian Vittoris. And that was enough to send Nico Müller taking that corner into the tyre barriers. So Mike Rockenfeller then will be picked up by the safety car. And, well, Vittoris and Müller, that incident going to be investigated. Of course, that is under investigation. Now, talk about playing into the hands of Marco Wittmann. Because all of a sudden, whatever lead Rocky had has been brought down to effectively 0. Nico Müller then, good to see him out of the car and unharmed, but the that corner of the car looking very much second hand, and that car going to have to be recovered from there. So safety car out for the third time here at Zandvoort. So out of the race then, Müller, Farfus, De Resta and Adrien Tombe as well. So all of a sudden, it's Audi, BMW, BMW. Before we see Mortara in P4, then Gary Paffett now is in P5. So interestingly now, Matthias Ekström with the good performing Audi. And the option tyre against the standard tyre for Marco Wittmann. Ecki in P9 as we see the replay of Nico Müller into the tyre barriers. Well, the second half of the race is going to be very interesting indeed. And there we can see it from up on high. Quite an impact there for Nico Müller, but these DTM cars super safe and extremely well engineered. Nico Müller out of the car, completely and totally unharmed, but his race done and dusted. So Ekström then on option tyres for the remainder of this race. We've already seen that the option tyres working so very well with the Audis. Ecki now from P9 sees the chance of the podium and even potentially the win in sight. There's a very disappointed Nico Müller. Now with where are we? Safety car, lap 27 of 44. Race is going to go to time rather than laps, which will mean we have something like just over 27 minutes left of this race, because the third safety car period means we're not going to complete all the 44 laps. It will go to the time limit rather than laps. Looking at Vitaly Petrov ahead, who is currently P8. So there, the safety car leads them away. Rocky, Wittmann and Tomczyk. Then we see Mortara, Paffett, Wehrlein, Hand, Petrov, and then we get to the Matthias Ekström and Jamie Green cars. So there's Mr. Abt on the pit perch, directing operations. Final 26 minutes or so of this race going to be absolutely fascinating. Danny Ucadella right at the back, and there's the damage to the Nico Müller car, which has taken a little while to be recovered from that impact with the barriers. This then the last but one round for DTM for 2014. Championship already having been decided at Lasseterring in favour of Marco Wittmann. Battle is on for P2 and P3 in the championship, and the battle still on, of course, the Teams and Constructors Championships as well. So still everything to play for here in DTM before we head off to the final round in Hockenheim. Camera from up there with the many fans enjoying this from the dunes of the seaside resort Zandvoort in Holland. So the Müller car being taken to a position of safety. I don't think there was any debris at all on the circuit. So once the car is in a position of safety, then we will see the safety car in, and the race will resume to time rather than laps as our heli shot then over the hotel right beside the circuit. Big holiday resort, of course, Zandvoort, and a fantastic shot there. And think of the cameraman on the left-hand side of your screen who's around that cherry picker, rather you than me, friend, as there we can see the Müller car being placed down, and then as soon as that recovery vehicle is out of the way, lights will be out in the safety car and we'll get racing underway once again. And we're expecting the option tyre shod Matthias Ekström, who is currently P9, to be the big winner from this safety car period. As Petrov, Hand, Wehrlein ahead. And sadly we've lost from the race Nico Müller, Augusto Farfus, Paul Di Resta and Adrien Tombe. Nico Müller then bitterly disappointed, I'm sure. He's with Verena now.
Nico, how disappointed are you? I mean, that is really terrible. The race is over for you. I mean, you looked really gutted.
Well, yeah, the accident now in the end, that was really unnecessary, and that's hurting. But I mean, the race just went completely wrong from the first safety car phase on. I mean, I had a very good start. I think the best of the first two rows, and was gaining a place there. And then I was looking after my tires in the beginning, and after safety car phase, somehow I had a problem on my front right, and I lost a lot of positions there. And then it just started to go from bad to worse. And, yeah, not at all what we hoped for after yesterday.
But there are a lot of accidents happening here on this circuit. Is it because Zandvoort is so very challenging, or why do you think?
Well, the differences here from the option to the standard are big in the beginning of a stint, but very small later on. So you try to defend your position when you're on either tire, and not really as on other tracks where overtaking is really easy and you will anyway gain your position back. Here it's different, so everybody's fighting even harder, and that's happening on a track where you don't have runoff, and it's very tight, so accidents happen very easily here.
Thank you very much for that explanation, and back to you.
Thanks, Verena. Yeah, Nico's saying it exactly the way it is, to be honest with you, that the margins at the beginning of any stints on tyres are huge, but they then decrease and decrease and decrease. And he was quite rightly saying there that without the huge runoff areas here at Zandvoort, with everyone pushing and charging as hard as they are, then when an incident does happen, the inevitable consequences are much greater here at Zandvoort than perhaps somewhere else. So we're looking at Joey Hand's BMW going through on screen from P7. That's Vitaly Petrov, who's behind him, that we can see from our onboard shot now from Matthias Ekström's car. So safety car coming in this lap. The lights are out in the safety car. So once again, Mike Rockenfeller will back everyone up. Marco Wittmann is right on his tail. Then we see Martin Tomczyk. Now bear in mind that Wittmann, Tomczyk, Mortara, Paffett, Wehrlein, Hand and Petrov. So from P2 through to P8, they're all on the standard tyre. Matthias Ekström is on the option tyre. So Rocky leading, but for how long? Mike Rockenfeller, Marco Wittmann. Then it's Martin Tomczyk and Eduardo Mortara as the safety car dives in and the race resumes again. A 20-minute duration left, we think, for this race. We're not going to go to laps, we're going to go to time. And Rocky choosing not to dive in, stays out. And we're on board with Eki, who takes Vitaly Petrov with relative ease. Up next for Matthias Ekström is going to be Joey Hand. There's Christian Vittoris. Incident between him and Nico Müller that saw the retirement of Nico Müller going to be under investigation. So Joey Hand is the next then for Matthias Ekström, and interestingly no further action. Just as we mentioned the Christian Vittoris and Nico Müller incident, no further action going to be taken. So there we have it, Matthias Ekström. Let's stay with this onboard shot. Fantastic shot here as he's hounding down Joey Hand ahead of him. And a big, huge gaggle of cars there lined up behind Vitaly Petrov. So Joey Hand is disposed of. Eki's charge continuing. Ah, and there's contact between Mike Rockenfeller and Marco Wittmann. Martin Tomczyk right on them as well now. So Rocky, and then Wittmann, then Tomczyk. And again, so very close. Rocky just able to hold on. Into the hairpin now. Turn 3, so we see out Molina. Eki on Paffett now, gets past Gary Paffett, moves up a further place. Eki really charging. Has Edo Mortara ahead now. And Matthias Ekström absolutely flying. Aided, of course, by the option tyres. Paffett and Wehrlein together there. So now Tomczyk goes into defend mode against Matthias Ekström. Ahead of Tomczyk, Marco Wittmann. This is a brilliant shot. Eki a work here across the back end of the Tomczyk car. Just 17.5 minutes remain. Car number 1, investigation. Inaccurate DRS activation as Rocky now dives in. Those tyres absolutely shot to bits, I would think. As past Tomczyk goes Ekstrom. And now Matthias Ekstrom just has the 2014 champion ahead of him, Marco Wittmann, as tyres go on now. But car number 12 also under investigation, Robert Wickens. But let's focus on this battle now. As Matthias Ekstrom tries to find a way past Marco Wittmann. Wittmann's mirrors full of the Red Bull livery of Matthias Ekstrom. And Eki right alongside Wittmann. And is he going to be able to make this move stick? Wittmann does everything he can, tries to squeeze every ounce of power out of the BMW. Eki and Wittmann absolutely side by side here. But Ekstrom goes through into the chicane, having taken the lead. What a storming drive for Matthias Ekstrom, aided, of course, by those option tyres. There's a little bit of satisfaction there on the face of the AB team. Into the final 16 minutes of this incredible DTM race, being led now by Matthias Ekstrom with Marco Wittmann, the 2014 champion, P2. Then it's Tomczyk, and then Mortara. Joey Hand in the mix there with Danny Juncadella and Bruno Spengler. There's Christian Vitoris and Maxime Martin. Paffett, well, Pascal Wehrlein did get past Gary Paffett. We saw them together. Paffett, for the moments that we'd seen him, was able to keep the Wehrlein charge at bay, but not now. Wehrlein has gone through. So the race order then, as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, it's Matthias Ekstrom from Marco Wittmann and Martin Tomczyk, the 1, 2, 3. Christian Vitoris on Jamie Green. Jamie Green on Gary Paffett now. So Zandvoort then always been favoured as Christian Vitoris dives up the inside of Jamie Green. Say the Zandvoort circuit favoured by Audi. Not the case certainly for Jamie Green there. Of course, Christian Vitoris running on the option tyres, Jamie Green on the standard tyres. So with the safety car phases having really played into the whole tyre degradation and use issues, a fascinating race as Vitoris now on Gary Paffett. Gary shuts the door on Jamie Green. Former teammates, of course, in Mercedes before Jamie Green made the move to Audi. On board with Pascal Wehrlein, who is running standard tyres on Eduardo Mortara ahead of him in P4. And there we can see that from that shot. The gap between Mortara and Wehrlein, just 0.3 or so. Ekstrom already having built up a lead of 2.1 seconds over Marco Wittmann as Gary Paffett. Oh, and that was quite an impact for Gary Paffett on the Armco barriers there. Just saw that happening through the corner of my eye as I was looking at the timing screen. Paffett tries to dig the car out of the gravel, but that's going to be bogged in there. Let's see how that happened. Seemed to quite tell from on board from Timo Scheider. Here we can see, just runs wide, out onto the grass. Once on the grass, fortunately Gary is nothing but a passenger there. Slides into the Armco, which can see it from up on high. Armco does its job, and it's the speed, and then is into the gravel trap. And good to see Gary Paffett out, all okay. His race done and dusted, and we add him to the list of Petrov, Muller, Farfus, De Resta and Tombe, and the safety car comes out yet again. This, by my reckoning, is the 4th time that the safety car has been out. Had a conversation with Gary earlier. Really sorry to see Gary out of the race. Been an absolutely torrid season for Gary Paffett, who has been working so very hard trying to extract the max out of a car which has up until the latter part of the season has perhaps underperformed, and Gary's such a stalwart for Mercedes and such an experienced driver. If anyone is going to be able to extract the most out of the car, he is the man. This was Matthias Ekström taking the lead. Marco Wittmann trying his level best, but the superior Matthias Ekström's Audi going into the chicane just outbraked Marco Wittmann, and he was through. This was the start of the whole overtake from Matthias Ekström. You can see Marco Wittmann trying very hard to keep there. Eki leaving Marco plenty of racing room, but Eki just had the power and the grip going in and just outbraked Wittmann into the right-hander at the chicane, and he took up the lead. Before the safety car was deployed, had built a lead of some 2.5 seconds. We're into our final 10.5 minutes of this race. The race that's been punctuated by 4 safety car deployments. And we've seen the retirements of that man, Gary Paffett, also Nico Muller, Augusto Farfus, Paul De Resta and Adrien Tombe as well. The incident there between cars number 8, Miguel Molina, and car 17, Timo Glock, under investigation. I'm not sure that we absolutely saw that, but it's under investigation. Whatever it was, the steward saw it. And in the garage of Robert Wickens there, the Freeman's World Robert Wickens liveried Mercedes-Benz. Robert down there, P15 on the option tyres, though. So for goodness knows how many laps, these cars lined up behind the safety car, which is coming in this lap. So we're going to have a sort of a 9-minute dash to the checkered flag. Ekström, Wittmann, Tomczyk, then Mortara, Wehrlein, Vitoris. The top 6, Maxime Martin, P7, Green 8, Scheider 9, Spengler P10. Well, lights still flashing on the safety car, but being told by race control that it is coming in this lap. Indeed so, the lights go out now, and Matthias Ekström will back them all up and hope to get an absolute flyer here. So starting to weave, so to Marco Wittmann. But Matthias Ekström being shod on the option tyres. It's Vitoris from P6, who has Wehrlein ahead of him. Vitoris, you can see the yellow indicators on the left-hand side, that graphic on your screen. Those names that are emblazoned in yellow are the ones that run the option tyres in the final part of this race, and therefore have that option tyre advantage. So Vitoris and Martin could potentially be heading for the podium. But they've got to get past those cars, and they have under 8 minutes to do it. So a lot of work to do. The man right at the front, though, Matthias Ekström, should be untroubled. He leads now by a second as they cross the timing line over Marco Wittmann, Martin Tomczyk, Edo Mortara, then it's Pascal Wehrlein. So Christian Vitoris shouldn't have a problem getting past Pascal Wehrlein. They're two Mercedes running together there. So Vittoris is running on the option tyres. We can see, looking back from Pascal Wehrlein, this is Christian Vittoris, and just how close they get. Brilliant shot here. This is DTM at Zandvoort. So, yeah, Vittoris goes past Wehrlein, Maxime Martin. Well, Wehrlein will shut the door on Martin, that's for sure. So Martin going to have to work hard as we see a splitter flying off the circuit there right in front of our camera. So Vittoris moves up to P5, podium in sight potentially for Christian Vittoris, also potentially for Maxime Martin, but he's got to get past Pascal Wehrlein. And does he do it now? Yes, he does. So Maxime Martin goes through. There's P2, P3, P4, and then Christian Vittoris is going to be the charger here from P5. Next, he has Eduardo Mortara ahead of him, Timo Scheider there, and Bruno Spengler and Danny Juncadella, we can see. So Christian Vittoris. And Eduardo Mortara, right, Vittoris now, as they head towards the Tarzan turn. I think he's close enough to be able to dive up the inside, or is he? He takes a look, but Mortara shuts the door. So the time is slipping away here. We have under 6 minutes left to run in this DTM race. Martin now right on the back of Christian Vittoris. Those two cars, but a P5 and P6 are both shod with the option tyres, the superior, the faster option tyres, but they still have to overtake the cars that are ahead of them. And at the moment, they're stacking up behind Eduardo Mortara, who is P4 and he's running on the standard tyres. Audi doing very, very well in P4, but is he going to be able to defend for 5.5 minutes to the superior grip offered by the option tyres for Christian Vittoris and Maxime Martin? Audi, Mercedes, BMW. This is a big, big fight here in the final stages of this DTM race at Zandvoort. And round has gone Jamie Green. There's our race leader, Matthias Ekström, who has jolly near 4 seconds on Marco Wittmann as Vittoris tries once again to line up Eduardo Mortara. But the lineup didn't work. He wasn't able to get past. You can see that right at the top of the screen, it's changed from laps to time. It's under 5 minutes. So Vittoris really needs to get the hurry up now, tries to dive up the inside of Mortara going into the Tarzan turn 1, wasn't able to do so. The race being led by Matthias Ekström. Marco Wittmann is currently P2. Tomczyk is P3. Mortara, that man, is P4. And he's holding up Christian Vittoris and Maxime Martin, who are right behind in P5 and P6. But Mortara doing absolutely nothing wrong, and that's how Jamie Green went out. With a touch from Bruno Spengler. There's our P2 driver, Marco Wittmann, the champion. There's P3, Martin Tomczyk. And Mortara still holding Vittoris. And Maxime Martin behind. Now, to be fair, on the option tyres, the cars that have been the best on the option tyres have been the Audis, but Mortara is not running the option tyre. What I'm trying to say is that the advantage Vittoris and Martin have with the option tyres on their Mercedes and BMW, respectively, still not necessarily as good as the option tyres we're working with the Audis. But now DRS is enabled with under 3 minutes left to run. So, with a lap time of in the 1:30s, time is running out for both Christian Vittoris and Maxime Martin. Eduardo Mortara, can he hold this train up behind him? for the remainder of this race. It's a big, big ask. There's Tomczyk, there's Mortara. Vitoris lines him up once again. We'll have the benefit of DRS, of course, when he deploys it. Maxime Martin, the same. Edo Mortara in defending, doing a great job and has done for a few laps now. There's Marco Wittmann, P2. There's our P3. Vitoris deploys the DRS. You can see the wing go down and dives up the inside of Edo Mortara. But Mortara shuts the door and still Vitoris is denied. Look at this. Absolute Maxime Martin might be able to take advantage here. Mortara runs to try and shut the door on Christian Vitoris once again. 1.5 minutes left. And down the start-finish straight they go, heading towards the Tarzan turn now. Christian Vitoris, he's not close enough to Mortara to go up the inside. Martin takes a look around the outside. Pascal Wehrlein's going to try and deny Maxime Martin. Car number 9, Bruno Spengler, gets a drive-through penalty. There he is. And that for the incident on Jamie Green. Maxime Martin, the loser in that little battle because Pascal Wehrlein went through. There's under a minute left. There's this and one more lap then by my calculations. And still, Eduardo Mortara is holding Christian Vitoris at bay. Matthias Ekström just shot up the lead. He's some 8 seconds jolly near ahead of Marco Wittmann in P2. Then it's Martin Tomczyk, P3. We're on board with Danny Juncadella, and ahead the Bruno Spengler car, which has got a drive-through penalty, which if it's not taken, the time will be added, of course, at the end of the race. There is our race leader, Matthias Ekström. Just look at the gap he has over P2, Marco Wittmann. And then it's P3, then P4 and P5. Maxime Martin now behind Pascal Wehrlein in that melee between Mortara and Vitoris. Wehrlein, because Martin was involved in that, we're on the last lap. Martin lost out as Pascal Wehrlein got past Martin again. Bear in mind, Wehrlein is running on the not on the standard tyre. Martin is on the option tyre. Spengler through on Danny Juncadella, but it looks like Christian Vitoris has given up the chase here. And now Maxime Martin is trying to move up another position, try and retake Pascal Wehrlein again. That's how close Maxime Martin is getting in P7 to try and get past Pascal Wehrlein. Wehrlein runs up onto the grass. Martin is right alongside him, but Martin has done enough to go through now. And Bruno Spengler, also on the option tyres, is charging. 2 there, you can see the BMW bank car. It's futile though because he's got a drive-through penalty to serve. The time will be added, of course, to his race finish time. Pascal Wehrlein then, once again through the windscreen, can see the BMW of Maxime Martin. But this man has driven like a demon, and he made sure he got rid of those cars that he needed to pass. In the second half of the race, running on the option tyres, Matthias Ekström is going to deliver as we see Miguel Molina out. He is going to deliver not only a victory for Matthias Ekström, but a victory for Audi, so needed as he crosses the line. And he locks up the tyres to take the checkered flag. And Matthias Ekström takes the win. And talk about lock-up, he really has. He's dragging that car alongside the pit wall. Got the back tyres lit up, smoke in the Audi. Audi take the first win of the season. And the relief and the delight. Ekström from Wittmann, from Tomczyk. Well, the safety car period's really messing with the strategies and providing an amazing race for us to enjoy. And Marco Wittmann then by dint of his P2. And there we can see the Marco Wittmann car. Eki then wins the race. With Dieter Gas, who will be delighted at last to have taken the first win of the season. Dieter Gas is with Verena.
Dieter Gas, I mean, just before the end of the season, finally Audi's first victory. How happy are you about that? And first of all, Eki really was on fire. Did you think about that this morning, that he could have really won this race?
Well, somehow it was one of the possibilities, really, because he was the first car on the grid on standard tires. We know there's a risk for safety cars here in Zandvoort, which is reasonably high. So for a situation as it occurred, he was definitely in a good position. But I need to say, yes, I'm happy, obviously, with the victory. Very happy, relieved somehow. But if I look at the race and the decisions that are taken, I must say I don't understand, really. I mean, Nico Müller is in the fast corner. A Mercedes driver goes on his edge, pushes him off, and there is no further action. I don't understand these things, and I really think we need to follow up. If not, we're going to do autocross or something like that.
Okay, now you also talked about the safety cars, and I guess exactly these safety cars also ruined the race of Rocky.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, we were with one, close to 2 cars in the front, yeah, with Mike and Nico Müller, by the way, yes. And then the safety car that messed up our whole normal race strategy. Luckily, we had another car on standard tires which could gain from it, yes.
All right, well, thank you very much, Dieter Gas. And still, a victory is just fantastic. Congratulations to that. Back to you.
Thanks, Verena. And interestingly, isn't it, that Dieter Gas is definitely tempered. The victory is a delight, of course it is, but tempered by some of the decisions that have been made as well. So perhaps rather spoiling the victory for Dieter Gas from Audi. As a load of donuts there from Matthias Ekström, forever the entertainer. And good for that as well. So he fills the home straight with tyre smoke. That'll go down well. And Matthias Ekström celebrates his win in fine style. Marco Wittmann then jolly well for P2. And actually a supreme result for Martin Tomczyk as well. And Martin Tomczyk's best finish, Spielberg P4, so for him to take P3 and be up on the podium, he'll be pleased with that. Eki, Wittmann, Tomczyk then the 1-2-3 with Mortara, Vitoris and Martin. And then it was Verlan, Junkadella, Wickens, Timo Scheider. Then we saw Hand, Petrov and Glock, Antonio Felix da Costa, Jamie Green, Mike Rockefeller, Bruno Spengler, Molina, Paffett, Muller, Augusto Farfus, Paul de Restaurant, Adrian Tombe, of course, all out. So the rear options are still smoking on the Matthias Ekström car as he makes his way out. And delight from Matthias Ekström. And they're the top 3 cars then of Matthias Ekström, Marco Wittmann and Martin Tomczyk. Drivers' Championship then, Matthias Ekström in P2 as we head towards Hockenheim, 81 points over Christian Vitoris in P3, who is on 69 points, just 1 point ahead of Eduardo Mortara in P4. Marco Wittmann's position, well, was done in Lassett's ring where he became the champion, cannot be caught. You can see confirmation of the team championship going the way of BMW Team RMG. Then it's Abt Sportsline, just seen Abt, haven't we? And then the Audi Sport Team Abt on 104 points, the 1-2-3 then in the team championship. At the moment, although the top of the table for the team championship cannot be altered. So Matthias Ekström down there, and Wolfgang Ulrich congratulates his start. Matthias Ekström back in 2002, won here at Zandvoort, won also in 04 and in 2008 as well, and wins again. And this is how he did it, by taking the checkered flag and then virtually anchored the car up and welded it to the pit wall as soon as he had taken the checkered flag. And These the donuts going on, which the fans absolutely love. Eki not even able to see where he's going. He knows by keeping it floored, the rear end is going to keep spinning. Fantastic. And to the top step, he will go, Matthias Ekström, having taken the win. National anthem time.